Today we're going to be going into a bit more depth from the test that we did in the last video. We're going to be looking at colons, semicolons, active voice, passive voice, and relative pronouns as well. Okay, so a colon and a semicolon are two punctuation marks that look alike, but they do different things. So a colon is used to introduce more information after something else has been said. It often comes usually before a list, it comes before an example, or even an explanation. And a semicolon is used to join two related sentences that could stand alone, but they're closely connected. Let's go into it a bit more depth. So what is a colon? A colon looks like this on the left, and a semicolon looks like what we've got on the right. Okay, when do we use a colon? So, like I said, we've got a colon. It looks like almost like an equal sign with two dots. In a sentence, a colon helps us to add more detail and it makes things clearer. So think of it as a way to say, when we say, here comes more information, or when we say like this. For example, we've got my favorite subjects at school are, colon, maths, English, and science. This means the same thing as the next line underneath it that says my favorite subjects at school are maths, English, and science. So a colon can also separate a sentence into two parts, and that's when both parts are closely connected. So we've got the example at the bottom, and it says my dog is very smart, colon, he can fetch a ball and do tricks. Okay, so using a colon or even a semicolon correctly can sometimes be tricky. We have struggled with this before, but I do have a little simple trick. So replace it with a full stop. If each part can be its own sentence, then it's usually okay. Right, let's have a look at the next slide then. So, capitalization after colons. So I know we've read different things, and sometimes you see on the TV, colons are used differently. Sometimes you have capital letters after the colon, sometimes you don't have it after the colon. What are the rules to it, and how do we do it here in the UK? So, whether you should capitalize the word following the colon depends on whether you're writing over in America, and even here in the UK. In America, the first word after a colon is capitalized when it begins a new sentence and when it's a proper noun or an acronym. But over here in the UK and British English, the first word after the colon, we don't capitalize. The only time we do is when it's a proper noun or an acronym. We've got some examples here, haven't we? So, I have one hobby above all others, colon, gardening. Now you see, with gardening, there's no need to have a capital letter, is there? Because it's not a proper noun. Neither is it an acronym. Okay, let's look at the next sentence. The capital cities of the United Kingdom are as follows. We've got a list. Colon, we've got London, Edinburgh, Cardiff, and Belfast. Now, since London, Edinburgh, Cardiff, and Belfast are all proper nouns, in this case we would use capital letters. Let's have a look now at when to use a semicolon. So a semicolon looks like this. We have a dot on the top and a comma underneath it. So a semicolon is basically a stronger comma. We call them super commas in class, don't we? And it connects two sentences that are related. For example, we could say, I finished my homework, semicolon, then I went to bed. You could say, Catherine loves to dance, semicolon. Her favorite style is ballet. Carter enjoys playing video games, semicolon. His favorite is Minecraft. Or the weather is perfect for a picnic, semicolon. However, we forgot to bring the food. Okay, so by looking at this, you can see that using a semicolon can make your writing clearer and more interesting because it shows how to put two ideas that are connected together. Okay, so a lot of questions I've had during writing sessions is, when do I use a colon or semicolon? Which one do I use before a list? So before a list, you always use a colon. But remember, not every list needs a colon. So a colon is only needed when the sentence before is a complete idea. For instance, let's have a look at the examples here. I have many favorite activities, colon, because we're about to make a list. Drawing, playing football, and reading books. The next one, there are 3 primary colors. So we know that a list is coming, so we can use a colon here. There are 3 primary colors, colon, red, blue and yellow. Next, my favourite desserts are, so we know we're about to make a list again. Colon, ice cream, cake and cookies. And then today's timetable includes, again we know a list is coming, today's timetable includes colon, assembly at 9 a.m, English at 9:30 and maths after break. Okay, let's now have a look when we wouldn't use a colon. So, if the sentence, however, before the list isn't a complete idea, then you don't need a colon. So for instance, for breakfast, I had eggs, toast and beans. No need for a colon there, so we use our commas. For breakfast, comma, I had eggs, comma, toast and beans. Let's now have a look at semicolons as part of a list. So, when a semicolon is part of a list, it's between items in the list, not at the beginning. So whereas before with colons, we knew a list was going to come. So when we were about to say, I love to do many activities, we put a colon and then we start listing. I like to play football, basketball, hockey and tennis. Whereas in this instance, with a semicolon, you can use it in a list, but it does not come at the beginning. Let's have a look at the example. All right, so for lunch, comma, I packed a sandwich, semicolon, an apple, semicolon, and a granola bar. So if we do use semicolons in lists, it will only come after, not at the beginning of the list. All right, let's have a quick overview now of what we've learned, and let's literally talk through the punctuation as we're reading. So we've got 2 for colon and 2 for semicolons. Let's have a look at the first one for the colon. To make a pizza, comma, you need a few things. Again, there's a list, so let's put our colon in. Dough, comma, sauce, comma, cheese, comma, and your favourite toppings. Next one, it was rainy today, colon. We stayed inside and watched movies all day. Next, we've got semicolons. I finished my homework, semicolon. Then, comma, I went to play with my friends. Full stop. And after that, my cat loves to sleep, semicolon. However, comma, he wakes up quickly when he hears food. Full stop. That's my cat. Okay, so that's colons and semicolons. Let's have a look at the next slide and see if you can get it right. So, find the mistake challenge. I just want you to know, is it correct or incorrect? Read the sentence. Before you go outside, comma, you need a few things. Semicolon, sun cream, comma, water, comma, and football. You can pause the video now and see if you can answer it yourself. Okay, welcome back. Let's have a look at the answer then. So, is this correct? Before you go outside, comma, you need a few things. Semicolon, sun cream, comma, water, comma, and a football. Right, so the beginning part of the sentence shows me that we need a list. Before you go outside, you need a few things. So you know a list is coming. So a semicolon shouldn't be there, should it? It should be a colon. So this is wrong. We should have, instead, we should have a colon, shouldn't we? That's much better. Before you go outside, you need a few things, colon. Sun cream, comma, water, and football. Well done if you got that right. Let's look at the next slide. Okay, now we're going to look into active and passive voice. So we've got some examples here. Under active, it says the cat is chasing the mouse. The same sentence in passive in the next box is the mouse was being chased by the cat. Next line in active, teachers mark books every day. And the same sentence in the passive, books are marked every day by teachers. So if you have a look, both pairs make sense. Both describe the same facts. However, in each pair that we read, one sentence uses the active voice and one uses the passive voice. That's why I've separated it in these examples here. Alright, which sentence would you use? That would depend on what tone you wanted to convey and also what you wanted the reader to focus on. So sentences come in 2 types. We have active, like on the left, and passive on the right. And most sentences we read and see and use are active. And that means that they have a subject, a verb, and an object. So let's look a little closer at a simple sentence on the next slide, just to understand what it is we mean. Okay, what is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is made up of two main parts. It has a subject and a verb. Sometimes there's also something or someone receiving the action, and that's what we call the object or an object. So when you switch to passive, you're flipping things around. Instead of the subject doing the action, it's like the action happens to the subject. And this can make writing sound fancier and a bit more formal sometimes because it focuses on what's happening rather than who's doing it. Let's have a look at some examples. We've got active here. So, in a sentence written in the active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action. So sentences which use the active voice are usually more straightforward to understand as they're just clear and direct, aren't they? Both sentences use the active voice. We've got here the winner of the competition raised the trophy. We've also got the teacher praised the student. Okay, so the subject, the winner of the competition, that's the subject, the winner of the competition. They perform the action because the action is described by the verb raised. And the subject in the next one, we've got the subject of the teacher. They perform the action, which is described as praised. So the subjects are all doing something. They're all taking action in these sentences. Okay, your turn now. Have a go at this challenge. So these are all active voices. Is this correct? We've got Jamila played on Roblox, the ball was kicked by Eli, and Leanne sat next to Lacey in reading class. Are they all correct? Is it active? Pause the video, let me know what you think afterwards. Okay, welcome back. Alright, let's have a look then. These should all be active, is this correct? Jamila played on Roblox. Yes, because played is the verb. Just get my pen. So played is our verb. Who did it? Jamila, so that's correct. The ball was kicked by Eli. Kicked, there we go. Oh dear, the ball came before the verb. The ball didn't do anything, was it? It was kicked by Eli, so that's not active. Let's look at the next one. Leanne sat next to Lacey in reading class. Sat is my verb. Who did it? Right before it, Leanne. So that one is active. So, Jamila played on Roblox is active. The ball was kicked by Eli is not active. And Leanne sat next to Lacey in reading class is also active. So, if it's not active, let's have a look now. The next one. Alright, passive. So in a passive sentence, we switch things up. Like we said earlier, so instead of the usual subject doing the action, the object becomes the focus by using the passive form of the verb. So they often include a prepositional phrase. So let's have a look then. So an example, the child ate the cake. That's active because the child is actively doing something, it's eating cake. If I make that into passive, the same sentence now becomes the cake was eaten by the child. Okay, now it's your turn. Let's have a look. So we've got some active voice sentences, some active sentences. So the chef prepared the delicious meal. We have Sarah cleaned the room, and then we have the year 6 students completed the project. Can you now turn these into passive voice, each sentence into the passive? Freeze the video. We'll go for the answers once you're finished. Okay, let's look at some answers then. So, first one, the chef prepared the delicious meal. Second one, Sarah cleaned the room. And the third one, the year 6 students completed the project. Okay, so we knew before, when it comes to passive, we can use that little prepositional phrase. The word by goes in there. Let's have a look. So for the first one, it becomes the delicious meal was prepared by the chef. The second one, Sarah cleaned her room, becomes the room was cleaned by Sarah. And the third one, the project was completed by the year 6 students. So do you see how it all comes together now by using that word by? Okay, I'm sure you got it right. If you need any more help with it, let me know. I can put some more examples up in the next video. But we'll now move on to relative pronouns. Okay, so relative pronouns. We do have a few. In simple terms, a relative pronoun is just a word that connects a clause or a phrase to a noun or pronoun, and it just shows that relationship to another part of the sentence. It also helps to provide more information about the noun or the pronoun which it's relating to. So, some examples of relative pronouns are who, whom, whose, which, and that. We did go over this in the previous video, the test, but let's have a little look how to actually apply them and what it means to insert them. So always remember your punctuation. It's always important to involve our commas where needed. So first sentence, who. We've got the girl, comma, who is wearing a red dress, comma, is my friend. You can see exactly where the word who is there. Next we have whom. The teacher whom everyone likes is Mr. Bani Hashimi. Next one is whose. The book whose cover is torn belongs to me. Next we have which. The car which is parked in front of the house is mine. And then finally the relative pronoun that. The dog, comma, that barks loudly is named Max. Okay, let's see if you can use your knowledge now. Go on the next slide and let me know which sentence has a relative pronoun, or which one is used correctly, the relative pronoun. Is it number 1, the cat chased the mouse? Is it number 2, I saw a movie yesterday? Or is it number 3, the book that I read last night was really interesting? Okay, now I know there's no commas, but does it have a relative pronoun, any of these sentences, even though there's no commas in there? Have a look, freeze it, and we'll come back to the answers once you're ready. Alright, welcome back. Let's have a look then. So we're going to search for the relative pronoun if there is one. Number 1, the cat chased the mouse. Nope, no relative pronoun there. Number 2, I saw a movie yesterday. No relative pronoun there. The book that I read last night was really interesting. Yes, the answer is definitely the last one because it contains the relative pronoun that. The book that I read last night was really interesting. Okay, I hope this lesson helped you today. If there's anything else you need a bit more clarity on, or would like anything in a bit more depth, let me know. I can always make another video. You can now go ahead and do an extension. I'll show you now. Let me skip past. Alright, so as you can see, we got 3 handsome men there. We got a tennis player, a doctor, and a chef. We're going to go over everything we learned today and try and make some sentences using a colon, make another sentence with each one using a semicolon, and include active and passive voice in there. And can you include sentences that include relative pronouns for each one? Have a go. I'll get the timer on and I'll see you in the next video.